Yerushalmi, Bava, Daf Chavtes Samar Aleph. We're actually at the bottom of Daf Chavches Amid Beis. Uh, Last word, three lines up. Reb Yusta, Reb Masen, Shoal, Apoida, Kakol Miyad Gizbo, Maushe Titove Lemaisris. So someone goes and he's poida, a basket of whatever, tain and fig, something that was mukdash, and he's poida from the other Gizbo is a din of a purchase of a mekach. A mekach we know uh, creates tevel. Lemaisis knows once then the chiv of maisis is chal on a mekach as if it's the gemara melacha. So what's the din if you poida something with hegdish? Is that considered to be a mekach? Most of the shlokish what nimulun gonna be hegdish v'achkach tabach macha. Right, we had that in our Mishnah now. So someone went, he's gonna be hegdish, and after he's makdish, he's tabach macha. Come on, like you said over there, hamakdish any kemoich. The makdish over there is not kemoich, and what do we say? We say that he is potter from dal vehei. So kamada tamat hamana makdish and kemoich. The kavasa paid over here is also enikalakech. He's not considered to be. It's not like he's buying it, and therefore it's not tevel. There's no chiv of maisus. Look, the Gemara Milsa Shlakish Amra Mechira is Kipidyan. That Mechira is Kipidyan. That if the Gizber goes and he sells, the Marfilda says, right, and he goes and he sells Hektish, so it has a din as if the person, right, it's mechiras kipidyon. It's as if somebody was paid it. And the same way, like we just said, if he's paid it, he's not have a din of a lekeach. So too, when the gizber goes and he sells it, also does not have a din of a mechira, and therefore when the gizber sells it, it's not tevel for maisvis. So this is not, that's not true. It's not true because when somebody's makdish an item and then he goes and he wants to paid it, it's very different than the gizber selling it. Why? Because if a person's makdish the item, we give the bailim has a right. The bailim was makdish, it has a right of first refusal. Why? Because it's hekdish's benefit because he's moisef chaimish. He adds that 20% on top of the purchase price. So we see from there that he retains a yad in the hektish. He has some kind of rights in the hektish. Mashenkin, when the gizba goes and sells it to somebody else, that person had no right in hektish, and therefore you could really say that mechira would actually be would create a chiyuv of that the gizba selling it would create a chiyuv for maisus. Okay, Amr Ablaza Robo is a shochet shoshach. You see a guy shechting a black axe biyar in the forest. Chazok a ganav can say this guy is definitely ganav. Maybe it's the owner, according to one shot in the Marafolder. Maybe it's the owner, and he saw that the animal's crouching. In other words, look, was about to die. Now, if it dies before he shechts it, he loses the whole animal. He figures like this: let me leave shecht it right now before it drops dead, so I can have the meat at least. So who says he's a ganav? So Gemara says no. Tipot b'shiru moshich. You see the guy schlepping the animal into the forest. You see him schlepping the forest. You know for sure. Obviously, he's a ganav. He's trying to do it in the forest, but nobody can see him. Na, sagt die Gemara, yesh betevech mashem b'moiche, v'yesh b'moiche mashem betevech, ja, shetevech b'Shabbos chayiv. Someone shechts on Shabbos, he's chayiv. B'moiche b'Shabbos, whoever someone who sells on Shabbos is potter. Right, he's chayiv, right, so it wants tevech Shabbos is chayiv. And that's why he's potter from paying, because it's kamle bidrab mineh. So So, Amr Rabbi Yana Rabbi Shmuel, I can prove to you that I'll tell you that's not the case. Matzinu shemachir chayav no lev Shabbos. I can. There's a case where you will be mechayev misa for mechir on Shabbos. And what's the ragatz mecha? Imagine ba'omer lechaveroi tloish min karka zed. Detach this from the karka v'kneoisa, and you'll be kind of the karka. Like Kanya, certainly, right? Is he not kind of? Obviously, he's kind of. And you see, with this tlisha, he's chayev misa. He did a malach on Shabbos. So Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Bun, that's not a right. It's not the mechira per se that's being mechayvim. It's the fact that he was toilish, and therefore what the Gemara said stands. Okay, that the mechira is that the yesh mechira mashem beteveach, etc. Fine. So taking Mishnah Locha, hey, machroi, if he goes and he sells the animal, puts me'echad v'meir sheba, except for 100th of the animals, he chayv dal behe, or shoys aloi boy shutfis, or he owned part of the animal. Hashoich v'nesnabla b'yadai, let's say shechted, there wasn't much of a good shechit, and it causes it to be in a vela. Hanoiche, or he rips out the nostrils down to the heart. From Akio, he's oike the simon. Misham tashlumi kefil, he pays kefil, but vein misham tashlumi b'vachamisha, because it's not considered to be eight tvich. And this is even according to the Rabbanon in Halacha Dal, the Mishnah Halacha Dal. Gone rishus habayim tavach hamacha chutz mishuson. If he steals it in the rishus habayim and he shechts it outside, so he takes it out of the rishus. Oh, you're gonna chutz mishuson tavach hamacha birishuson in the rishus of the bayim. Oh, you're gonna tavach hamacha chutz mirishuson. In all these cases, sham tishul me'abava chamisha, because in all these cases he was in some aspect he was kind of. Avalim, however, gone of the Tavach Malcha B'Shusan, he gave it and he went and he shechted or sold it in the Baal's Rishus. In that case, part because he was never the gan was never kind of. Machre chutz zukti gemana machre mech meishe boy v'chulei Reb Zira boy machre chetz yema. What's if he sold half the animal? Machre chetz yosef chetz yosema. What's if he sells half to Joe and half to John? Ma, what's the din? Shmina nado machre chutz miyad. If he sells the animal besides the front legs. The forelegs. Chutz mi raglo, besides the hind legs, or chutz mi karno, besides the horn, chutz mi gizas, besides the shins, v'sham tashum bava chamisha. In all these cases, I'm sorry, the Ger says ain't a misham tashum bava chamisha because he didn't sell the whole animal. He retained the part for himself. Rebbe Lezer, Reb Shimon, chutz mi karno. If he sold the animal with the exception of its horn, misham tashum mi kefil, he has to pay kefil on the geneva, but he does not pay the above chamisha. However, because the keren is part of the animal, and he never sold the complete animal, so the kefil has to pay because he stole the animal, but he's not chayav on the mechira. However, if it's let's say chutz migizei seha, if he sells it besides the shearings, and we're talking about over here the shearings that are ready to be cut off, so that's considered to be they sold the whole animal, and therefore misham tashum chamisha pays dalit vehei. Rabbi Aimer zokt Rabbi. Chutz midavar sheneshama teluya boy. So eina mishalem tashlum yavochem isha. It depends what of the animal did you not sell. If it's something like let's say its head. So in that case, it's a davar sheneshama teluya boy, and eina mishalem tashlum yavochem isha. We're going with that girsa. Eina mishalem tashlum yavochem isha. Chutz midavar sheneshama teluya boy says except for the toe, then he is chayiv. We're going. That's those are the gifts. That's the gifts when according to my folder because he sold basically in essence he sold the entire animal. Zok Telegemish Nalochavav. He's schlepping it v'yotze, and he's on his way out. The mace b'shus about however, the animal drops dead in the rishus of the baal potter, the gan of his potter. However, if he picked it up, chutz mishus about he took it out of rishus about the mace, then the gan of his chayiv. Nasal b'char benoy gave it to a kohen for the b'char that he owed the chamesh slime that he owed the kohen. Well, the Baal Chayve, so many odd money to Lashem Echinu Sholnas, Asoich Lasoiche, Hayimosh Chaviyoitze, and now he's dragging, the Ganav is dragging it to give it to the, I'm sorry, is it the Ganav? Hayimosh Kain, I'm sorry. And Kain is Moishechit Viyoitze, however, he doesn't manage to get out of the owner's Rishus, so Meis Rishus Abailim Pata. Then the Ganav is Pata because there was never any transfer of ownership to the Kain. However, if the coin picks it up, Mishas Abaylim, or the coin takes out of Shas Abaylim, or Mace, Chayiv. The Ganav is Chayiv. So now, look the Gemara Moshe Chaviyoytzu Meis, Nasan Lebchayis Benoy V'chulei, Amar Ramona, Man the Mali, Adon Mills, whoever explains this, I mean the Mishnah over here, and we'll see what that is in a second. Anonasib Benar Yosei. I'll take his equipment to go into the Pnei Moshe. I think in most places in the Bavli we see that Loshen, again, I'll take your towel, your robe, your soap, I'll carry it for you to the bathhouse. And what is this? So Mahu Potter. What is this Potter? It does a potter mean nifta mechayvoi, that the ganav is potter from the chayv that he owes the kayin or his or wherever he owed the money to him, and therefore he would be chayiv because he in essence stole the animal and he used it to pay his own chayv with it. Or is it so ma potter nifta mechayvoi, or is it nifta megeneva, or do we say he's potter from stealing it? In other words, and that's like we used pot in the ratio because it never transferred out of the rishus of of the original owners, and since he never transferred out of rishus of original owners, the Ganem himself will be potter. Ramana didn't know which one it was. Okay. Halacha zayin sagt the Mishnah megadol mei medaka beretz Yisrael. I'm megadol besuryo medbar sheberetz Yisrael because um, Syria was considered to be kivush yachid. And that's even Israel can't raise Tanagolim because Kachim are common in Yerushalayim, right? Being its close proximity to the base of Mikdash, and therefore we don't know where the Tarnug the chickens tend to peck in the garbage, and whether there could be Tumah there, and therefore we stay away from that. Kohanim cannot raise Tanagolim anywhere in Israel because of Tahiris because they're constantly volunteers. Yisrael can't raise pigs anyway. This person can't raise a dog unless it's tied down with a chain. Ein person nishvin liyonim ella im kein roch min yishu shloshim ris. You can't set out traps for yonim unless you're 30 ris away from a settled area, so you don't come into machlokes with people. Zok the Gemara megadol mei medaka v'chulei Amar Rabba kigoin moish shisha samil. What's an area in Israel that you could raise a bei medaka, like we saw in the Mishnah, right? In the Midbar you could raise. So that's this place more here. That area you could raise your bei medaka. Fine. Tani will not take Megan Tana Golem Yerushalayim Bnei HaKodshim V'lo Kana Beit Yisrael Bnei HaTaharos. So for Eitim Yochel Af Yerushalayim Kain. Yerushalayim are all Yidden the same, or is it only the Kahanim that are, or is it only limited to Kahanim because they handle Kodshim? So Gemara says, "Oyeve kei demar Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Yerushalayim habnuya ki isha chubro lo yachtav," as I state in pasuk, "isha mechaberes Yisrael zel zeh." All the Yisrael are all connected one to the other in Yerushalayim, and therefore, what's usher to one is us to everybody. So the Kahanim and the Israel, nobody there can raise chickens. So right? If you look in the pasuk says, "V'chol sheepel ben evlos malav yitma tan v'kuram yutats tmei mehem utmei yulachem." What's the double ocean? You can't derive any anah from these animals. So Zukti Gemara calls davar she'sura dvartar. Anything that's awesome deraisa, aslasas b'schayre at all. Chol davar she'sura midivreim. If it's only an iser nidrabanan, then mutar lasas b'schayre. Wait, what are we talking about? Chamor. What about a chamor? You can raise. Last we checked, people do business. You can have enough from a chamor. So we're talking about specifically food-related items. Chamor obviously is used for his work. What about Irei Gamal? What are Gamal? Well, it says the same answer, and therefore we're only addressing items with that have to do with Achila. And the Mitzvah Shem, hopefully tomorrow we will finish off the Perek. Chal tov, everyone.